I have logged 4,000 cargo transfers in 11 cycles aboard the Ilvanar Reach, and until the human, every single one of them obeyed the doctrine. 4 bodies to standard crate. 4 thrumal, harnessed at the corners, moving in the count I call myself, because a body under strain does not think in numbers, it thinks in rhythm, and rhythm is my job. I am the one who keeps the rhythm. I am the one who signs the manifest afterward and says, "Nothing broke today." That is the whole of cargo logistics. It sounds unglamorous because it is. It is also, I have come to understand, the only place on this ship where the truth about humans was ever going to surface, because truth does not announce itself in a war room. It announces itself in a hold full of crates when nobody is performing for an audience. Dana Kessler came aboard at the Corvassa Relay as contract labor, one of 4 humans the Concordance had leased from a colony administrator eager to offload debt. She was unremarkable on the manifest. Adult female, standard build, no augmentation flagged, cleared for general labor. I did not read her file closely. I had no reason to. Humans on cargo contracts are, in my experience, adequate slower than us on the count, faster to tire, prone to requesting rest intervals we do not schedule for. I assign them to 2-body teams on light freight and keep them off anything rated above a single thrumal lift, because the paperwork after a human injury runs 4 times longer than the paperwork after hours, and I dislike paperwork. What I noticed first was not strength. It was a request, filed through the crew terminal in the flat administrative language humans use when they want something and expect to be refused, requesting solo assignment, Cargo Bay 2, Crate Class C and below. I denied it. She filed it again the next cycle. I denied it again. On the 3rd cycle, I asked her directly in the hold why she kept asking for something that made no operational sense. A solo human against a crate rated for 2 of my own kind, at minimum. Because waiting for a partner wastes time, she said, and I don't need one. I told her that was not how the rating worked. She said she understood that. She said it the way you say something you've decided is not worth arguing about, and went back to strapping a harness she did not, in fact, need. I let it go. This is the part I return to later when I write the report. I let it go because it was easier than filing an exception, and because nothing about the Reach's instrumentation gave me any reason to think the rating was wrong. The rating is not a guess. It is derived from load cells set into the deck plating on every cargo tier, calibrated over decades against every species the Concordance has ever put to work. The brittle, careful lift ceilings of the Corvassa dockers, the surprising torso strength of a Wen stevedore, the exact number of cycles a thrumal spine can take before it needs relief. It has never once been wrong about my own kind. It had simply never been asked a question about a human, because no human had ever been foolish enough or confident enough to give it one, and because a leased laborer's private habits are not, on a ship this size, anyone's priority. So the cycles went on. Kessler worked her 2-body assignments without complaint, though I noticed, in the small ways you notice things about crew you are not actually watching, that she finished her share of any lift before her partner had settled into the count, and stood afterward with the loose, unbothered posture of someone who had not been tested. I filed it under temperament. Humans, I told myself, are simply eager. It is a flattering explanation, and I chose it because it required nothing further of me. The transfer that mattered happened on an unscheduled cycle, the kind that produces the reports nobody wants to write. A restraint clamp on the upper gantry failed during a routine move, metal fatigue, nothing exotic, the kind of failure that happens perhaps once in every few thousand transfers, and is the entire reason we run 4-body teams in the first place, so that when one clamp fails, 3 bodies are still holding the load and the 4th has time to reset it. Kessler was alone on the gantry that cycle, moving a Crate Class C, which is within her clearance. The clamp above her failed, and directly above the failed clamp, already in motion, already committed to its fall, was a Crate Class F, the heaviest rating we carry, cleared for nothing less than a full harness team of 4, moving on an adjacent line she had no assignment to and no reason to be watching. I was 30 meters away, reviewing a manifest discrepancy, when I heard the alarm tone for the failed clamp and looked up in time to see the Class F crate coming off its line with no one beneath it but her. I want to describe what I expected because it matters. I expected her to move. Humans are, whatever else they are, quick to flinch, and flinching would have been the correct response. Step back. Let the crate strike the deck plating, which is rated to absorb far more than any single failure, and file the incident report in the morning. That is what the doctrine assumes. That is what 11 cycles of watching every species we've ever crewed had taught me to expect from any single body, facing a falling weight it has no business intercepting. She did not step back. She turned into it, got both arms under the leading edge as it dropped, and took the weight standing, knees bent, boots skidding perhaps a half-meter across the decking before she stopped. She held it, not for an instant, not as a reflex that immediately failed. She held it, breathing hard, for the 11 seconds it took the gantry's secondary clamp to cycle back into position and take the load off her arms. I know it was 11 seconds because I was already recording, because some instinct in me understood, even as it was happening, that I was watching something the load cells were not built to explain. I did not go to her first. I went to the readout. This says more about me than I would like, but it is the truth, and this report is nothing if not truthful. The deck sensors beneath her position had logged the transferred force in real time, and the number sitting on that screen was not a number a single body should have been able to absorb and remain standing. It was closer to what 4 of my own kind, harnessed and braced and counting together, would need to manage between them. She had done it alone, unharnessed, with no warning and no count to move by. She set the crate down herself once the clamp caught, checked her own hands for damage the way you'd check for a splinter, and asked me, over the comm, whether I wanted her to finish the Class C transfer or file an incident report first. I told her to file the report first. I needed the time to think. Her intake file, when I finally read it properly that night, contained nothing that explained it. No augmentation, no flagged medical history, a prior labor record from the colony listing manual work, lifting, hauling, nothing that would have registered as remarkable to the administrators who leased her out for debt, because to them, apparently, it wasn't. I found, buried in a supplementary note from her colony physician, a single line: patient reports no unusual fatigue at standard labor loads, recommend no special accommodation. The physician had not been withholding information. The physician had simply never thought the number worth writing down because, on a world full of humans, a body that's strong is not a marvel. It's Tuesday. That is the detail I keep circling back to, more than the crate, more than the readout. She did not lie about her strength on any form because she was never asked, and she was never asked because it never occurred to anyone, not her, not the administrator, not the physician, that a strength like that needed disclosing. It was not a secret. It was baseline. She had spent her whole life assuming that the rest of us worked roughly the way she did, and requested to work alone not out of pride, but out of simple, honest miscalculation about what the rest of the galaxy could carry. I have since submitted an amendment to the Reach's lift rating doctrine, the first in 11 cycles. It does not reclassify humans upward on the standard scale, because the standard scale was never built with enough headroom to hold them. Instead, it flags them individually for manual assessment before assignment, a category we have never needed before, for a species we have never needed it for. Command approved the amendment without comment, which is its own kind of answer. Kessler still works cargo bay too. She still files requests for solo assignments, and I still approve fewer of them than she'd like, though for a different reason now. It isn't that I doubt what she can carry. It's that I've started to wonder what else, on that world of theirs, nobody ever thought was worth writing down.